A very warm welcome along, everybody, whether that be for the first time or you're with us every week. It is wonderful to have you with us on board for the first of our two podcasts over the next few days. Well, this is it then. I could have created my own words to sort of begin this podcast, but I didn't think there was anything that I could say that kind of came close to what the late, great Alistair Down described for this meeting. We are back where we feel we ever belong in the month of the Mad March Hare. Joyful is guaranteed, triumphant lies in the lap of gods and our own flimsy judgment. But we are all, every man, Jack, woman and Jill, united by the simple childish excitement that over the next 4 days we will share in events that will include one single certainty, and that is the festival. And we are grateful that you have chosen to join us for one of the most consistent tipsters and the funniest people you are ever going to meet on this planet, I promise you. Harry Cottrell is with me every week, and he has fantastically decided to join us as well. We have an addition right over to the left of me as well. He won the quiz last week, so he's been put under amplified pressure to come on this week and try and provide good analysis, maybe a couple of dark horses along the way as well, and that is Mr. Declan Farley. Cotty, pleasure to have you on for the 26th Festival. We know coming into this year that there's going to be heartwarming stories, a raucous atmosphere, unmatched in British sport, in my opinion. What we have in addition this year, and why you're so important this week, is it is the most wide-open, top-to-bottom betting card that we have had, certainly in my lifetime of going racing. Are you excited about the challenges and the pressure that that brings with you having such a good tipping record?
Yeah, no, definitely really looking forward to it. 4 days of great action and looking forward to it. Yeah, the markets are much more competitive this year. You know, you'd look back at last year and you had probably 4 or 5 odds on shots that that went down. Starting with Madgeborough, I know that's gone a shade of odds on this morning due to Marine Nationale being a non-runner now due to a stiff neck, I think it was. So yeah, what are we, seven days out to the first, and is there any one confirmed odds-on favourite at the minute? I mean, I know Factor Files odds-on for the Ryanair, but obviously that's still up in the air with what's going to happen. So, yeah, maybe last year you'd need 2 or 3 favourites a day to be green, but now I think if you can get the right winner a day, then you should leave up all right.
Absolutely, yeah. We're recording this on the Tuesday as well, so we're kind of falling behind a little bit with declarations. We did, like Cotty just said there, get the news that Marine Nationale is out of the champion chase next Wednesday, so that, of course, leaves Madgeborough in a good position. Dec, like I said, you've been hauled back in for another week after your heroics in the quiz last week. We're coming into this festival very much in a position where there's going to be a wide range of opinions. In one singular year, you would have everyone saying Constitution Hill's going to win the champion hurdle, Galopin Des Champs going to win the Gold Cup. Not the case this year, and of course that's going to leave us for a really, really fascinating 4 days to look forward to.
Yeah, totally. Like Cotty said about these odds-on shots going down last year, this year it's so much more open, and I think from a punting perspective, there's a lot more excitement involved. Just from a value point of, if you have 1 or 2 winners on the day, chances are you're going to be up. And I think it's really exciting that these graded races have got 2 or 3 at the top of the market, whereby you can make a case for all of them winning, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, like I've been saying it all year, but this feels like a Royal Ascot to me. It feels like a Glorious Goodwood, where we're going in the entire festival as 2-1, and obviously that's opening the plane up, isn't it? And hopefully you've got a couple of good handicaps for us in there as well.
Yeah, I'll do my best, mate.
Lovely stuff. All right, here's how we are going to run things this year, as we do every single year. This is our order of play. All 28 races are going to be covered across a set of podcasts. We're going to start with the Supreme shortly and run through the cards as they are, of course, on your race cards. We're going to be very time consistent with things. We appreciate there's so many of these previews these days, and we don't want to be sat here for the next 6 hours for your attention, but we do promise it is worth sticking with us. We also have 2 free £5 bets to give out as well. I'll tell you how to enter those as well. You're going to have to follow our socials to get involved with those. What we provide here is purely a good analysis of racing. This is not financial advice. We're just a few blokes who love a bet. If you have any concerns about your gambling, please do visit begambleaware.org, which will be linked below. Right, shall we get started? ever the most exciting and probably most over-talked about race, but we will just get straight into the first race on the Tuesday, the Sky Bet Supreme Novices Hurdle. It's a Grade 1, Class 1 event over 2.5 miles a furlong, starting to become now a very long-time anti-post favourite for this after his fantastic win in the Rosington up at Haydock. All Park Star, currently your 2-1 favourite. Talk and Preston Dublin is now looks like it's going to be his main target from what Joseph O'Brien has said is now 11-2. Mighty Park, where's he going? I don't have a fucking clue. Hopefully one of these two do. He's in there at 13-2. El Kairos is 7s, 10-1, bar the field. Harry Cottrell, all you have done to me in the weeks and the months leading up to this Sky Bet Supreme Novices Hurdle is told me you are going to have Manchester City with All Park Star, Real Madrid with All Park Star, your nan with your All Park Star. You have been absolutely hammering this horse for the last 8 weeks, and I am going to be in turmoil to turn this podcast off if you tell me this horse is not the justified favourite for the Supreme.
Yeah, no, we tried with Real Madrid last night. Sadly, they lost 1-0 to Getafe at home. But less said about that, the better. Yeah, I think started off strong in this race last year. I made Copec de board. My nap of the week, Old Park Star is probably up there this year. There's a couple of likes. I'm still sat on the fence currently with an outright nap, but yeah, this is a strong selection nonetheless. Very very competitive. Supreme. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to see. I think this year it's like a Supreme of the past. 5-6 years. You go back to Altior winning a Supreme, and there was loads of runners. In the field with chances. Maybe not so the last couple of years, but looks to be a big field for the first race, and there'll be some raw. It's nice to see an English trained horse at the top of the market. Normally you're seeing your Willie Mullinses or Gordon Elliott's. I know Henderson does have a good record in the race, but it's normally an Irish favourite to kickstart. No, this horse's form this season has been pretty decent. I remember being at Cheltenham back in December when this horse sprinted up the hill. Wasn't the best of races, but was certainly a decent enough race. Glance of Midnight in second, beating 12 lengths. I mean, that's no real form line to get your hopes up for a Supreme Novice. But the third horse, Kingston Queen for Pipe, that was sent off favourite that day, and I think that's a very decent animal. That's come out and won a Grade 2 at Warwick when I was there the other week. Won by about a length, but did plenty wrong and still won. So there is form lines there. He then went over to Haydock and ran in the Rossington, which is a trial for this race. There was talks about this horse not liking Haydock, maybe a bit too sharp for him, but he shut the haters up there and was very impressive. Won by 18 lengths, beat Hurricane Pat, who is a decent horse in itself. Won a nice race at Sandown, and the form lines are there. It's rated 151. I think the last couple of winners of the benchmark is about a 150 rated horse to win the Supreme, so it ticks that trend. Couple from the Irish, talk the talk, has won a Grade 1 already this season, so that'll be there with a live chance. Mighty Park's another. Looks like it'll come here. And he ran once. I know it won by 38 lengths, but you'd be backing that blind, really, wouldn't you? Unless you're in the know and you know something that I don't, then you'd be backing that on chance, really. And I'm not too sure how Kairos's jumping could hold up in the later stages. So no, I'm pretty strong on Old Park Star, and hopefully get off to a flyer.
Fine case for the favourite there for Cotty. All Park Star at the top of the market. And Dec, like a lot of what Cotty just said there was pretty much affirming to trends. You need about a 150 rated horse that's proven himself, particularly in England. It helps if you've won at Cheltenham. He did that brilliantly at the start of the year. He's 2-1 now. There's been a bit of 9-4, 5-2 in the week, but I think when the English punters start to get into this one, this could be a lot closer to evens this time next week.
Yeah, I think he's going to stay at the top of the market no matter what. he looks that perfect blend to me of like tactical speed and being a cruising galloper.
Mm-hmm.
I think it won't matter if he is just off the pace or he's a bit in behind coming off the bend. I think he's going to have enough to get up the hill. More importantly, though, I think he looks so straightforward, which in the Supreme, you know, you really do need to have. And it's interesting, Cotty said about his form. That Glance of Midnight, who he hammered by 12 lengths, actually was second to Act of Innocence in the Sydney Banks. And obviously we know that Act of Innocence is also fairly well rated at home. The main rivals, obviously, talk the talk, battled really gamely to get up at the DRF, didn't he?
Yeah.
Mighty Park, I can't really see. I can see punters latching onto him from the point of he's a McManus horse, and he had to be, was it 38 lengths in his maiden? But
30.
you know, he could be anything, couldn't he? I think if you want a real consistent, solid bet, first race, Old Park Star's your man. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you think back to the last combination of Nico de Boinville and Nicky to win the Supreme, it was a summer horse called Constitution Hill. So yeah, wonder what happened to him, man.
11 minutes into a festival podcast that he's not even run into, and there it is. There's the clip that I needed. No, but you're right, Dec and Harrison, fantastic record in this race, and when he has these big stars, people do seem to latch onto them, so it's a tip there for Old Park Star for you. And we won't do this a whole lot, I'd imagine, but I ended up going full circle on the Supreme this year. I think it's a very deep contest, and you can definitely get paid well for one in the frame here, but there was no reason for me to want to drop off Old Park Star in the end. Debuted lovely at Kempton, stepped up for his run at Cheltenham, which really caught my eye just before Christmas. Cotty mentioned it there. I think that's probably the most impressive performance I've seen in the entire calendar of racing that I've been at Cheltenham this season. Turned up then to go around those really, really tight rails at Haydock, and I think that has to be marked up on really testing conditions as well. Maybe he does want further in time, but Henderson has always trained his horses to go minimal distances. We've seen it in the past with Sprinter Sacre and so many others. So I think that the price is probably around fair at the minute. I don't know if I'd want to back him too much shorter on the day. What I have on him now, I'm pretty happy and content with. Because, like you said there is some good Irish contingents here. Talk the Talk was very good winning the DRF when he nailed down Ballyfad. If Ballyfad ended up here, obviously I've talked quite highly to you about him. I think he's the second coming. So if he goes here over the 2-5 race, then I'd probably have a go on him. At bigger prices, I was at Aintree on Boxing Day, and I thought Idaho's Sun that day was faultless. Yes, the hurdles came out, but he still did very well to turn away my Daddy Paddy when he came up the elbow, and I think he's a very pacey horse, and with the kind of hard pace that I'm expecting from this race, I think Brian Carver is going to want to be up very keen on the front there. We know the Supreme is run at probably the fastest 2 miles of the entire calendar because of the excitement and the jockeys being a bit giddy, and I think that if this horse is allowed to just bowl along freely, he might just be able to sleep a couple of them when it comes down to it. But it was Old Park Star for me in the Supreme, so that is a hat-trick of votes for the first race of the festival. Straight on then to the 2 o'clock then, the Singer Arkle Challenge Trophy Novices Chase. It's a Grade 1 Class 1 event, once again, just a shade over, under 2 miles. We've got a new favourite for this. It's been Lulamba for the last couple of weeks. Kopek to board, 100 to 30, 3 to 1, 11 to 4, 5 to 2, 9 to 4, 2 to 1, all the way down to 7 to 4 now. Kopek to board, a horse that we've only seen run once this year, Cossie. And did so in tremendous fashion, but was skipped the DRF because of a late sort of injury or illness that was going on. Turned up to a schooling day there at Navan and was seemingly impressive from what you can take out of that. Are you shocked to see this money coming for the Willie Mullins favourite?
No, I wouldn't say I'm shocked. I mean, it's a Supreme winner. The next logical step for a Supreme winner would be to go to the Arkle. I mean, it's not ideal that he's only had one run, but then, you know, he's had 2 racecourse gallops with good horses in and around him, and you know, the reports of that seem to be strong. There's a lot of talk saying that he will be too quick for Lulamba, but we know, you know, in these type of races, you've got to be able to stay. It's all right being quick and nippy, but the horse that won the Arkle last year is now joint favourite to win the Gold Cup. So it shows that you do need to stay. It's not a race I want to get too heavily involved in, really. I've got a pretty poor record myself at picking the winners here. You know, I'd be much rather be having a good go on Old Park Star in the previous race at 2 to 1 than I would any of these. one I do like at a price is Steel Ally at 14-1 for the Sam Thomas team. Was very impressive in the Kingmaker last time out at Warwick. Beat a horse of Dan Scoutton's Mirabad very comfortably, and Mambu number 5 for Ben Pauling. I know Ben Pauling came out and said that the horse didn't like the ground, but I like the way Steel Ally jumped, and shows a good attitude. And I just think, there'll be eight runners. Hopefully he can serve up to the main two in the market, but if not, I'd like to think that he'd be third best. And if you can get a 14-1 place in every race, then you'd have had a good festival. And if the top two don't turn up for whatever reason, whether that's before the race starts or when the race is going on, he's a live contender to pick up the pieces, I think.
First, the big each-way prices there from you, then Steel Alley for the fantastic Sam Thomas chasing a four-timer. 14-1 at the minute for that one. Has been really, really good all season. Dec, nice to go down the bottom of the market there, but to kind of just bring things back up to the top, because these are the big two talking horses. Look, this Arkle goes deep, but it depends how much you trust the majority of these, of course, as 2-milers. People talking about the ground might be too fast for Lulamba. He might struggle. Cargeese and Romeo Coolio absolutely murdered each other in Dublin, so whether they're going to come out of their race is fine. So maybe there is just that opportunity here for people to think, well, Kopek de Board skipped it. Horses that go to Aintree fresh that don't come to Cheltenham perform very well, so he skipped the DRF. He's going to win the Arkle.
Yeah, I can totally see why he has waited so long. It's interesting you say about the ground for Lulamba. Obviously, he's been running. I mean, that Game Spirit was real crap ground, wasn't it? Almost bottomless. Although, having said that, I just do think his experience over the fences is going to count for a lot more. I mean, we know that Kopek de Board's going to be primed, but I think in a race where jumping is the game, I can see Lulamba with his all. I mean, he's had 3 runs over fences, and he's won every race by a minimum of 6 lengths, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think that experience counts for a lot. It does actually remind me of the Arkle from, was it 2023, between El Fabiola and John Bon? It's got that sort of Mullins Henderson look about it again. I just think Lulamba's all class. We know Kopek de Board has obviously won the Supreme, so he's got the course form. But I really do think this is a special horse. There was all that talk about him going into the Triumph last year, obviously, which Poneros won at 100-1. But I think Lulamba's all class. He's done nothing wrong in his runs over fences. Although he did beat, good handicappers at best in that Game Spirit. I just think if he can settle into a better rhythm from the off, it's going to be a close contest. But I'm definitely signing with Lulamba here. I think Henderson knows what he's doing again. And it'll be good that if he can get the first 2 up, I think he'll set himself up for a lovely festival. But yeah, I'm with Lulamba here. Unless the race falls apart tactically, I don't see him getting beat.
I am ice cold on Lulamba. I've probably been mentioning it quite a little bit in the last couple of weeks, and I was going to come into this with a bit of a monologue to say that I was going to pick 2 from 2 at the top of the market to start this podcast. Now not the case because of the money that's come for Kopek de Board. I am the last person on planet Earth that will tell you if there's a horse coming for Willie Mullins' money, it's probably going to win. But I have to take the eye test on this, and as much as I liked Kopek de Board in the Supreme last year, I thought his novice chasing debut was fantastic. It has been 113 days since that, and the horses that come to Cheltenham with that long of a layoff typically don't have that good of a record, with the exception of the likes of Cavega over the years and some Mullins contenders. But everything that Dec said there about Lulamba, I absolutely agree with. He's already been tried and tested on dismissive ground. I don't really see a deadly pace for this Arkle, to be completely honest. I mean, like I said there, the ones at the top of the market, Cargeese and Romeo Coolio destroyed each other at Cheltenham, and I think that has to have some sort of lasting effect. I think Romeo Coolio wants further, and I just don't think Cargeese is good enough, as good a horse as I think she's been for the last couple of seasons. Then you're into the likes of Irish Panther, who I do think comes here with a live chance. Steel Ally, the Cotty's tipped up, you've got to respect that, but then if you just take this as a heads up and assume it's going to be one of the top 2, Lulamba's been too consistent throughout the year over his obstacles. He was fantastic when he won that Game Spirit. He's been really, really fired up since, and all the signs from home are very good. The Donnellys, of course, have had nothing but bad luck over the last couple of seasons. Stateman fell last year. He's out this year. I would love to see them manage to get a winner on the board here. And Lulamba is a horse I'm very, very solid on for winning for winning the Arkle.
I do think
go on, yeah.
This will be one of those races where halfway round, if it plays out tactically the way I think it will, you can see the makeup of the finish there and then.
Correct. Yeah.
If these two go at it together and sort of negate each other, I think there is a chance that one of the ones in behind at a bigger price are going to bowl up the hill and just pick up the pieces. Having said that, I think there's so much class between these two, and I think they are level above everything else in the market. Yeah. I can see these sort of being 6 to 10 lengths clear of whatever's in third, still tanking away against each other coming up the hill.
The one thing I'm pretty sure on is that Paul Townend is going to make the run in here, because he didn't look like that much of a straightforward horse when he was a novice hurdle last year. We talked about him being, worked up in parade rings, a bit wobbly over his hurdle. So I think that because it's been such a long layoff for him, I think he doesn't want the interference of something like Romeo Coolier up his backside or something like Lulamber. So I'm expecting Kopech to bowl along here. And Nico will be patient on this. I think he'll just bide his time. He'll wait for the pieces to pick up. If they don't go overly hard, I think that will suit him. If they do go hard, it might not work out in his favour. But I just think the class of the horse is going to find a way to win. It's just more likely to get Nico out of trouble than what Paul's going to have in the same issue on Kopech. So I thought it was pretty easy for me to go with Lulamber. There we go then. That's the two grade ones at the top of the house done. Obviously, this card has now changed around and they've destroyed it, in my opinion. But anyways, we'll continue because someone needs tips, not in my opinion. But anyways, onto the 240, everyone's favourite race. The McCoy Contractors Juvenile Handicap Hurdle. We've known it as the Fred Winter, the Boodles over the year. That's a 2 mile, half a furlong handicap for the kiddies. Again, a bit of a wide open market here. I won't run through all of them, but Saratoga's there for Padre Groch at 11-2. Winston Jr., Faye Branley, 13-2. Man Lager, who was very good the other day, 7-1. Selman Davari's probably going for the majority of these are probably going to end up in the grade one anyways, but good luck, Cotty.
Yeah, no, my pick for this race changed when Narciso has came out of the Triumph Hurdle. I was pretty sweet on Winston Jr., but I believe that'll be taking its chance in the Triumph. So I digged a little bit deeper down in the market, and I found two I quite like. One is Ames for the James Owen team, another Great British winner, hopefully. Did a lot of its racing earlier on in the season. Whether they had this in mind from a long way out, I don't know. But they got the runs into the horse fairly quickly.
He was the Supreme winner in October, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, there was a lot of talks about that. They quickly got shut down, I believe, when they realised it was Sedgefield on a Thursday at the back end of September. But yeah, was smashed off the boards that day and won wow. Was then seen about 12 days later at Chepstow again well backed and won. There's a couple of horses in that race that I don't think are too bad, so I don't think the form of that race is too bad. Then went over to Wetherby for a listed race. Was sent off a very short price favourite. Looked to be a bit disappointing when you're 2-5 for a race and you don't win, then it is quite disappointing to see. But little did we know that Manella's study for Adam Nicol was actually a very good horse that's come out and won at Cheltenham since, and that's up there in the market for the my mind's gone blank. The Triumph, sorry. And
yeah, I was trying to figure it myself.
Yeah, so we haven't seen it since October until Saturday when it had a little run round at Lingfield. I'd imagine that was just to blow away the cobwebs and yeah, get him A1 for this. I'd imagine Sean Bowen might take the ride. Ollie Murphy doesn't seem to have a strong hand in this race, if any. Bowen's rode it the last few times, so that's a good jockey booking. And then another one I liked at a big price was Manganese for the upcoming trainer Max Comley. Started off life in France winning, then made its debut for Max at Leicester back in November. Very, very weird race to watch that was. The favourite was sent off 1-4. Yeah, the less said about that race, the better was it's one to go watch. Actually, it's a bit of a weird race. Horses falling and Manganese, was sent off 4-1, so probably wasn't expected to win that day with the favourite being 1-4, but won going away and started to get the hang of things. Then went over to Catterick and beat a horse called Keyboard. That was well fancied on the weekend. It didn't go in, but that went off a short price favourite in a race at Kelso on a Saturday on their big race day. So that's obviously thought a lot of. And then its most recent run was at Doncaster. Showed a very gutsy attitude to beat a horse called Manlager of Nicky Henderson and James Bowen rode it that day. That has come out since and won at Haydock very impressively. And I just think Manganese is in at 20-1 and the Manlager's in at 7s. So you're getting 20-1 on a horse that has beat the 7-1 in the market. So yeah, there might be a little bit of value in there. Hopefully it'll run well. It's a filly. It's got a decent race weight. It probably need a few to come out, to be honest, to get in. So if it doesn't get in, Ames would be me pick. But if I'm allowed to, then I'll tip both of them up each way.
You're allowed as many as you want, pal. Good picks there, nice prices as well, and that's probably the nice theme to go with for this. I'll just jump in with mine really quickly here because I don't like to spend long on these races. I'm on the premise that Highland Crystal is going to end up in the mare's novices because if she is, she'll be in my top 3 for the entire week if she goes there. But obviously, if she does, ignore this segment for the next 60 seconds. I just wanted to go with one at a big price here, and that's Joseph O'Brien's Dignam, who's in there at 16-1. He operated on the flat for Joseph as a 2 and a 3-year-old to pretty good effect. He worked up to a 92 rating at best, ran some very decent races in like quite open big fields. Switched to hurdle in the summer. He picked up 3 nice wins. All of those came in England. Went for a day out in France and finished a fair 5th at OT on absolutely desperate ground. It will not be as even if it comes up on the choppy side of soft, it's going to be nowhere near as bad was that day in France. So that's not a concern for me. It's only the second race of the hurdles, the second race of the week on the hurdles track as well. So factor that in. The ground's not going to be that bad. If he acts up on good to soft, then hopefully he should go pretty close here. He looks speedy. He looks like the kind that can just kind of freak out and just go an absolute ball along here for Joseph O'Brien. So that was my quick premise on the not the Triumph, the Boodles. Dec, this is I'd say borderline the hardest race of the entire week.
Yeah, it's a bit of a lottery, isn't it? It is worth noting though, favourites don't have a good record in this race. So, if you want a bit of value, you're more entitled than to find it in this race. Great minds must think alike, because my first pick is also Ames, running off 1-8. I actually had an anti-post slip for him for the Triumph very early on in the season. I think after his Chepstow win or something like that. But obviously, that hasn't formed well. But yeah, I really like the profile of this horse. He's that kind of horse who doesn't quite look classy enough for the Triumph, so they put him in something like this. He's currently mid-weighted in the field, so he's obviously going to be in if he's sent here. What I like about him is he went down by, I think it was 3/4 lengths to Leather Study in a listed race at Wetherby. Now, obviously, we know what kind of animal he is. He's near the top of the market for the Triumph, isn't he? So,
yes,
that puts him in good stead. His form ties in, obviously, with those all sorts of like Winston Juniors and one-horse towns. I watched his run at Chepstow again from earlier in the season. And even then, one thing that stood out to me is a very sort of slick, stable jumper. I think going towards the last, he was something like 6 lengths clear. And then after the last, he put another 2 on the field. So, that shows you he's finishing his race as well. He's got loads in hands. And the icing on the top of the cake for me is the fact that he had a nice little 1 mile 4 furlong spin at Linfield 10 days ago. Little prep run, getting fit as a fiddle for next week. Something we know James Owen likes to flirt with, on the flat and then back on the jumps. I'm hoping he's sort of been going slightly under the radar, so there's still going to be a good bit of value on the day. So yeah, all systems go for him. The only other one I like at a price, I think he's about 20-1 maybe, is Hara for the Paul Nolan team. Won a maiden hurdle at, I think it was, bear with me a sec, Fairy House, yeah, where he beat a Spring Hill Warrior who is in the Gordon Elliott stable. We know he's rated quite well. Paul Nolan's a real shrewd operator. So yeah, if he goes in on this race, I'll also be on board. But no, my main bet will be Ames. And yeah, hopefully Sean Bowen can get that duck off his back with the first festival win.
There you go, then. A couple of tips there for Ames and then some at nicer prices. And we're all very thankful that segment is now done. The 320, the Trustmark Ultima Handicap Chase, is the first of the really big handicaps of the week. 3 miles and change for this one. A race that has been absolutely dominated by the British in the last 15 years. I think there's been maybe one, if not 0 Irish winners in that time. And that leaves us to a pair of Oliver Greenough and Josh Guerrero horses at the top of the market. They have... what's the right way of putting this? Been talking horses over the last 2 seasons. Jaguar 11-2, Morocco at 7s, smashed in from 16, so this looks like a target for him. He'd have to win it off top weight. Handstand's been pretty consistent. Is there at 10s? Lucinda Russell's got King of Answers, Maya Town, Paul Nichols has got Quebecois. You have to go all the way down to Back Me or Sack Me, who won't run here, to try and find an Irish horse. I think it's 25-1 the field that an Irish horse wins this Cotty, and This should be a book in the in for the English.
Yeah, no, I make it 4-0 Great Britain after 4 races. So
Said no one ever.
So yeah, I don't think that will happen. But if it does, then happy days. I think the interesting factor over the last couple of days is that Iroko looks set to come here. I'd imagine so will Jaguar, and they'll have a double hand in the race. The big factor for me is Paul Nichols' horse here, Quebecois, is a very long way down the list, and I think with Iroko running, Quebecois will probably need about 13 to 15 horses to come out.
Yeah, he won't get in.
So that would free up Harry Cobden.
Oh.
And I think Harry Cobden would have the pick between Jaguar and Iroko, and there is Johnny Hu in there as well. I don't know if John Joe will be. I don't know whether John Joe will have to ride for his dad, or whether he will have the pick of Jaguar and Iroko who he normally rides. I'm not too sure. But to keep it nice and simple, I think Jaguar and Iroko. It wouldn't surprise me if they came 1-2. I don't really have a preference to either, but whatever Harry Cobden rides, if he does out the 2, I will be backing. I'll keep it nice and simple enough. I don't like John Joe O'Neill as a rider, so if Harry Cobden can get the leg up on one of the 2, I think that will make a big difference throughout the race, getting horses to jump and also in a finish. So, I can't really split Jaguar and Iroko, but hopefully Harry Cobden will get the leg up on one of the 2.
Dec, you've been known to back a few horses in the same race over the years. It's been quite well documented. This looks like you could have about 15.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because this year is the first year I've looked at the Ultima and really struggled to nail 4 or 5 who I want to put a bet on. I've actually only got one anti-post slip in this race. So either I'm a changed man or I've lost the plot.
It's a long way till Tuesday, Dec.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. And I'm going to be sat bored Monday, so I imagine there'll be a lot of deposits, and that bet slip zone will be full. Anyway, I just can't have Jaguar in this race. His form at Cheltenham this year, he looks like a horse that doesn't want to win. So it's either one of the best plot jobs again, in the sense of getting ready for the festival and he wins, which we know those green and gold silks are quite good at. But for me, I've got to look way past him. Iroko, yeah, he's a similar profile of horse in that, he has had a run in the National, hasn't he? And I think this race could be primed for him. But I've actually landed on one further down in the market. He's 16 in the weights. And when I checked last night, he's also 16-1. And that's Imperial Saint for the Hobson White team.
Ooh.
He's officially rated 141. He ran at Cheltenham in the December Gold Cup and finished out the back of the telly. Now, that was at 2 mile 4. It's interesting because he then went to Haydock for the Peter Marsh and he battled really gamely to beat Confusion.
Yeah.
We know Martown made a blunder of errors, didn't he, in the last 2 or 3 fences in that race. Now, that race, the Peter Marsh, did look to be the target for him. So maybe now running in the Ultima is a bit of a bonus and an unexpected one at that. But why not? He's shown his grip to get up in the Peter Marsh. Looks like he'll be running off 11 stone 1, which, like I said, 16 in the weight. Now, I appreciate the trend of those being higher weighted seem to run well, but I think this is a horse who's finally found his trip. 3 miles is going to be fine for him. And I think he's still got some improvement under the bonnet. It's his second season over fences. I just hope he'll have enough quality and class at this level to be on the premises. But we know, because he's part of the Richard Johnson Racing Syndicate, isn't he? And we know that he can pick them. So, yeah, I'll be on him on the day at 16 to 1. If he goes any shorter, I'll back him again. If he goes any bigger, I'll back him again. And, yeah, he's my pick. The only other one I do like in the race is Leave of Absence. He's been running in competitive handicaps all season, hasn't he? He got hammered by Haiti Couleurs in that apocalyptic round at Newbury, didn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he is better on quicker ground, and they did say that after the race. So yeah, Leave of Absence at 10 to 1. And Imperial State will be my more favoured bet at 16s.
Yeah, me and Cotty have had some good days out with Imperial State, particularly at Aintree. Seems to run fantastically there. Michael Nolan will no doubt take that ride. So confident pick there with the big prices. I've gone for 2. I don't think one of them's going to run, but fuck it, he's in here, so I had to put him up. Resplendent Grey's near the top of the weights, and like Dec said there, that's not a bad trend. Typically, I would be very against the idea of winning a race off 11-10 and upwards at Cheltenham. I've never ever liked top weights. I've said it on here a million times, just not for me. But with Resplendent Grey's, ran here a couple of times, ran in the National Hunt Chase last year and finished a pretty good 4th. Haiti Couleurs came out and won that race. Went on to win a set of nationals, so the form lines are there. Pretty good. Will Do was in there as well for Chickenstown, who's always a handicapper that I try and keep an eye on, so I like that. The runs this year have been pretty good as well. Didn't do too well in the Hennessy, but other than that, he won at Carlisle in the build-up to it. Was second at Windsor in a 5-runner race there over 2.6 during the Winter Millions, so I think that he's been pretty consistent. I get Sean Bowen on board, which is just like what a sort of godsend that's going to be as well. Ollie Murphy's never had a festival winner, of course, but he's been building that stable up probably for a festival like this for a very long time. I would be shocked if he didn't come away with some sort of silverware this year. So, Resplendent Grey, he was in there at about 25 to 1. Gordon Elliott, this is a message for you and you only, because I know you'll be watching. He won greater competitions over hurdles 2 years ago. I said run him in the Albert Bartlett. He didn't come over. He won Grade 1s as a novice chaser last year. I said run him in the Brown Advisory. He didn't come over. Give Croke Park his chance to run at Cheltenham, and he wins the Ultima and breaks this British lock of decades gone. It hasn't been a bad season either for this horse. If you watch every week, this horse is probably my favourite in training. I just absolutely love everything about him. He ran on very well over this massive 3-mile trip that we've been crying out for him to get for so long in the New Year's Chase. He had too much weight in the Dublin Racing Festival when he went there for the handicap. He was off 12, less what Josh Williamson took off as well. He goes to 11.7 here, which is, like we've just said there, it's not out of the Ultimate Trends to win this off a pretty high weight as well. He is a classy, graded horse running in a handicap, as are quite a lot of these, of course, but 3 miles at a course, I know he's going to love the undulations of Cheltenham. The harder it is for him, the more he seems to be obsessed with it. The runs at Ferryhouse produced and proved that as well. So for the love of God, give this horse a chance to win an Ultima. And if this wins at 33 to 1, doesn't matter about the Champion Hurdle as far as I'm concerned. That's me done for the week. So there's a couple for me, Resplendent Grey and Croke Park. Luckily, Matty's not here to, tell me.
Can I just say, I'll take over seeing as Matty's not here. What price was him when you backed him for the... Sorry, you tipped him up for the Gold Cup back in November, maybe?
Yeah. I put him up at 100 to 1. You can't be pissed off at someone putting a 100 to 1 anti-post tip up, though, if, things didn't work out.
You can when it should be 500s.
I mean, late supplement, he might be.
The Irish have a shocking record in this race.
I know that, and that's why I put Resplendent Grey up as well.
And out of all the Irish horses, Croke Park's probably second bottom of the ones I'd pick if I had to. If you had a gun to my head, I'll tell you to pull the trigger rather than put me through the misery of watching the race. Yeah,
and with that incited violence from Dec, we're going to move on from the Ultima because I don't have anything to comment on that. Here we go then, the feature on day 1.
At the last flight, he's down! State Man has gone, and it's Golden Ace left in front. Burnett Road has taken
is probably talked about more than any of the other Grade 1s at the entire festival, short of the Gold Cup, because of the drama that this race has continually produced over the years. We've seen that, like from the clip last year there, where Stateman had the race at his helm, fell down. That was after Constitution Hill fell and Brighter Days Ahead blew out. Golden Ace picked up the pieces. And she returns this year in the 2026 Unibet Champion Hurdle Challenge Trophy. It's a Grade 1, Class 1 event, 2 miles and half a furlong. Becoming now the horse that's been at the top of the market for quite some time, because the Constitution Hill situation means that he is now going to be the definitive on the day favourite. That is the New Lion, the 9-4 favourite, the winner of the Turners last year, won at the January meeting after falling in the fighting fifth. Brighter Days Ahead's third attempt to try and win at the Cheltenham Festival is 7-2. Lossymouth is in at 7-2 as well. You know, we'll discuss if she's going to go here. Golden Ace, the defending champion, is 7s, Poneros is 10s, and then it's bigger prices about the rest. And we've done a lot of talking on this podcast, Cotty, about the New Lion and sort of the situation, and like, I don't believe he's a 2-miler. You seem to think he would have won that day at Newcastle. Like, this horse has got so many varied opinions. This isn't the strongest champion hurdle. Let's just say that as, you know, the fact that it is. Will you be going too far off this favourite for the champion?
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, it's not a disappointing field by any stretch, but there's certainly been better champion hurdles that I've watched. The New Lion, yeah, is probably the horse to beat, but you know, came down at Newcastle, and if you go back and watch his run in the Turners last year, you know, 2 out in the last, he was very, you know, there wasn't much margin for error. Obviously got the one beside his name at Cheltenham last time out with Sergino falling. You know, that was a very slowly run race. You know, that was, his jumping will be put under a lot more pressure in a championship race than what it was on trials day. Brighter Days Ahead seems to be, you know, the mare seems to be enjoying herself a lot more this year. Seems to have improved from last season when disappointing in the champion hurdle. There's a question mark over her Cheltenham form. You know, was sent off a short price for the mares and got beat by Golden Ace, and then was you know, prominent enough in the market in the champion hurdle. You know, he couldn't win even when Constitution Hill went down and Stateman went down. So you know, maybe she's a different horse this year, but you know, you're still going to have question marks in the back of your head about that one. Lossymouth will run in the mares, so that leaves Golden Ace at 7-1.
Definitely going to run in the mares for you. Like, there's just no chance.
Yeah, nailed on, concrete, 100%. Which leaves Golden Ace at 7-1. I don't particularly think. I don't really have a strong opinion on the race, but I just think at 7-1, the only way she's not in the top 3 is if she falls. She's shown no signs of a mistake. Very, very reliable mare, bar the disappointing run at Wetherby, but there was excuses for that. I just think 7-1. You know, I'm not a fan of backing horses at single priced each way, but I think here you're literally getting a free hit on the win because she won't be outside the 3. And yeah, you know your money's safe. She jumps well. She's always there at the business end of the race, and you know, there's a few quirks in the armour of the ones at the top of the market, and I don't really see a quirk with this one. So yeah, we go with the defending champion and see if she can you know, see if she can do it again.
2-time festival winner Golden Ace, the old reliable there. And Dec, there's going to be a lot of people that just see the idea that Golden Ace is the solid bet to have in this. You know, you get a decent price about a horse that should complete, and the only real question that there's ever been about Golden Ace, she's picking up races that other people have left on the floor, which to me would signify she's not got the quality to be the champion hurdler again, if something better than her finishes. But the big question, of course, is something better to finish ahead of her?
Yeah, it's a funny old game, isn't it? Because obviously those races she's won, in theory, she's been the best jumper. Just looking at the market, I mean, Lossymouth's 9-4 second favourite. And like Cotty said, I think you're a bit of a fool if you think she's going to run in this race. She had her chance last year and didn't take it. I can see why the New Line's favourite. in theory, should be the classiest horse in the race. The only worry I have with him is it's his first time in real deep waters, really, isn't it? You know, championship race up against the big boys and big girls. Is his jumping going to stand the test at this kind of intensity and pace? You know, we say about those jumps in the turners last year, the last two especially, where, like Cotty said, didn't leave any margin for error. Golden Ace at 7-1, I think is just crazy, isn't it? Because she's won the Champion Hurdle. She won the Mares Novice round here. I mean, the Mares Novice was a good win. Let's not take that away from her.
Yeah, but that race was that race broke up really badly. You know,
it did, but she still had to win, get to the line first. Brighter Days Ahead is 7-2 for the race. I think if you want a value bet, Cotty's nailed it there. Golden Ace, I'd be very surprised if she finished out in top 3. My selection is going to be the New Line. I mean, call it a bit romantic or what you want. You know, I backed him heavily for the Turners last year. I'm falling in love with him again in the sense of I think Dan Skelton's going to have him totally primed for this. Hopefully he's been jumping fine at home. The way he finished in that, was it the International Hurdle last time out, I thought he always looked like he had enough. I mean, Brentford Hope's been retired. Was it today?
Yes.
You know, the form doesn't stack up, but I just can't get away from him. I think at 15-8 at the top of the market, there's got to be something that's putting him at the top of the market. It's his class. Like I said, it's his first time in deep waters. So for me, he has got something to prove. Nevertheless, I'm going to be on board with him. And hopefully he can put me in for a nice bet, just like he did in the Turners last year.
I think he's the worst priced favourite of the Champion Hurdle in the last 10 years.
What, in terms of quality?
Yeah, and that obviously signifies that this isn't a strong Champion Hurdle, but I look at the fact that he's 9-4 and I think, how the fuck could you bet that at 9-4?
But that's because you can pick holes in, bar Golden Ace, I think you can, well, her 4. You can pick holes in everything else that's lining up, really, can't you? Brighter Days Ahead still has something to prove at Cheltenham. You know,
but why are his holes less justified? Like why on the basis that the only Grade 1 he's running this year, he was on the deck in a race that he was given by Constitution Hill, and he struggled. Let's not get this wrong. He struggled to win that international. I don't know.
Do you think it's a bit of a question of he can be a bit of a hype horse at the moment? You know, a bit of a young pretender in the Champion Hurdle.
Yeah, well, look, he's the most unexposed, you would say, of the live contenders here, if you want. I suppose maybe Poneros as well, but the fact he's 10-1 is worrying. I just look at the New Line and I just think he's in the wrong race, and I've said it all year. I get there's no 2.5 mile hurdle for him to run in, but I just don't get the good vibe that he's a good 2 miler. And nearly for me, the bet in this would be to lay him, and maybe even to place lay him and hope he blows out, because I just think
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I just don't.
I'm not sure.
Convinced at all.
Dan Skelton's comments after the fight in 5th, you know, they said they wanted to test if he could cope with the speed. And Dan Skelton seemed convinced he could. I mean, you've got to put a fair bit of weight in that.
Yeah, look, I was left coming out of Dan's comments from that thinking that, look, he was almost trying to make an excuse to make it look a lot less worse than it was, to be honest. And look, Dan has always been very kind of honest with what he says, so maybe I am reading into that wrong, but it just wasn't for me. But I get he's going to be the most backed horse. He's the most popular. It's Dan Skelton. He now has these live Grade 1 chances that he hasn't had for the past few seasons, so maybe that's part of the money that comes for it as well. But the New Lion definitely wasn't one for me.
But on that note, I think it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the market develops.
Yes, yeah.
Especially if there's, say, a bigger price horse that punters or whoever seems to latch onto late on in the sort of 24, 48 hours before the race.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know. We saw it last year. If things fall apart, could we have another shock on the cards? Yeah,
well, look, all it takes is for me to just get the bankroll out here to justify that market, I'm sure. To be honest, it was probably the hardest Champion Hurdle to have a bet on in years, like Cotty alluded to there. It's very difficult, really, to have to take a lot of confidence at the one at the top of the market. And like I said there, I just haven't liked the New Lion all season. I'm still not convinced. He threw away the fight in 50. He had a chance to blow me away in the international when Sergino pulled up, and he didn't. So I'm just starting at the prices to get back on board with Brighter Days Ahead here at 7-2. There's loads of talk about her not liking this place, but look, she came to the Champion Hurdle last year. Of course, we've since Lauren Gordon-Elliott came out and said that she had an injury that she'd picked up as well. Throw that Mares Novice from 2 seasons out of the way. Obviously, Jack Kennedy was under hard criticism for the way that race was run, but I think all of the jockeys, including Paul Townend on his mare, all ran a bad race that day, and Golden Ace just picked up the benefactor of that. I respect Golden Ace. I know she's going to get round. She probably will be in the top 3, so she's a good each way place if you get 3 on the day. But I just want to take that confidence, the brighter days ahead, in what has been her best season so far. She was a good second behind Lossiemouth at Christmas time. She flipped the form over on that dead ground at the DRF. She appeals to me much more of a 2-miler than Lossiemouth ever did as well. I know I'm going very Jigginstown hard here on the first day, but I think brighter days ahead really for me just seems to edge it for me, and I think 7-2 you're getting a good price. But yeah, it was a very tricky champion hurdle this year, but hopefully between all of that you're able to pick something out of the bones, folks, there, and hopefully at least one of us manages to find the winner, and Poneros doesn't go and do what he did 12 months ago and ruin everyone's day out. We've got 2 races to wrap up from the Tuesday. I nearly said the Saturday slate there. The Tuesday slate. The 440 is the Sun Racing Plate Handicap Chase. It's a Premier Handicap, 2 miles and 4 furlongs. The plate now moves to the Tuesday in this new defection. Wide open field again. Madara's 5-1 for the Skeletons again. McManus has got McLowry. Jaguar won't go here. Waterford Whispers might at 10s, and then it's into massive prices about the rest. It was easy last year, wasn't it, Cotty? Because Jaguar was just a justified favourite and went and did what he had to do. This year, yeah. I mean, if you find the winner after the Champion Hurdle, it's going to pay back what you lose on Golden Ace.
Yeah, no, definitely. Jaguar, impressive winner of this last time out. I just think this stinks of prime Dan and Harry Skelton. I think, if you want a favourite to go in, then you may as well make it 5-1. Yeah, had some time off from Wetherby to Kempton. I believe it had a bruised foot or something, but has got good Cheltenham course form. Was second in the December Gold Cup in 2024. That was off a mark of 140. It's the same mark now. This race doesn't look as strong as the Ultimate. I know this is over 2.5, and the Ultimate's over 3 mile. But yeah, this doesn't look a really strong race really for the 84 grand pot, I don't think. Slade Steel, that was a horse of that used to be thought highly of and performed at a high level. That could be interesting at 20-1, but a lot of 2s beside its names now. You wouldn't be confident of that getting its head in front in Cheltenham, but could definitely run well at 20-1.
Do you think Slade Steel's more likely to come here than the Jack Richards? Because I really want to take it if it does.
I'd say so. Yeah, I'd say this is a lot easier race than the Jack Richards. Has form over 2.5 mile. There's only a length and a half behind that Predator's Gold last time out when seen over 2.5 mile. It's very hard to make a case. This I know it sounds stupid, but this far out, but it's only a week away. But with so many horses double entered, you don't know. You don't really know who's going where. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty weak race, and it looks like Dan Skelton's plot job hasn't really gone unnoticed at 5-1, and I think that's the worthy favourite with some backlash, and yeah, I'd imagine that would be bang there.
Padara then at the top of the market for you there, with possible mentions of Slade Steel gets in. Dec, winner of the plate, please.
I totally see why the punters have latched on to Madara. I've looked a bit deeper into the market. Like Cotty said, because there's so many double and maybe triple entries, it's hard to find one here which you're dead cert is going to go. Although I landed on down memory lane for the Gordon Elliott team. JP owns 20-1 currently, and unless I'm missing something, I think this is his only entry. He won a 2 mile 4 listed race over at Navan, where he beat Search for Glory. We know Search for Glory is a capable horse, been running competitively in handicaps all year. So yeah, down memory lane for me. Not really got a fat lot to say on it. Obviously, like I says, it's one of those races where you never really know what's going to go, but hopefully this lad turns up. Hoping Jack Kennedy will be on board. He'll have the choice, I assume, between Jacob's Ladder. If Jacob's Ladder also comes here, he's too high in the weights for me. So yeah, down memory lane for me.
Jacob's Ladder is in a couple of races, I think, as well, and is shortest for the Jack Richards. I would imagine that's Jigginstown's plot for him, so I don't think he'll come here. But down memory lane there for you there, a 20-1 big price there for, I'm not sure if I put it up, but just in case, there for for JP McManus, who should be with the top trainer at the top owner at the festival.
Can I
I'm
just
all over the
say,
place, right?
on that note, it's interesting we talk about Harry said 4-0 earlier to the British. I mean, I was looking at the odds for the Presbytery Cup and going through a lot of my selections as well. Most of them are British, and I'm starting to think, shit, I've got something wrong here, because there's no way the British are going to win the Presbytery Cup.
No chance. But it might be closer than it has been on previous years. It could be more of like a sort of 16, 12, 15, 13 job. But the Irish have too much class in the grade ones by the end of the week. So they might have a good day one, but then by the time that they start running horses in the Ryanair, which they've already booked up, it'll come to its own. Two at huge prices, and I don't know if either of these are going to go, so I won't spend too long. But Cotty mentioned there about Slate Steel earlier. Really classy horse. He had a graded chance there on New Year's Eve when he got brought down, which was really frustrating because it looked like he was going to win that race. A lot of twos beside his name, but that's good form to be bringing into the Cheltenham Festival. I think he's been really consistent. Of course, a winner of a Supreme at one stage in his career, and hasn't translated all too well to chasing. But there's every chance that there's improvement there as well. I am playing Rob Core bingo with a lot of these, which is frustrating, but it's just the position that we're in, unfortunately. One at an absolute fuck off price, and he does need quite a lot of these to come out. So I don't know if he's going to manage to get in. And obviously the news of Barry Connor losing Marie Nationale earlier. I think that he's not got many chances, but I was looking at her Grandeur Thigh there a little bit earlier in the week. Like, old boy now, he's 9, and that doesn't fit into the trends for winning a plate, but his last 2 runs, he's been runner-up in a pair either side of Christmas. Last time out, that was to a horse called Zanouche, who has been an absolute winning machine in Ireland. I think he's 4 from 4 at the minute, so if he does get in here, it's going to be off something in the realms of about a 10 stone 8, so, he's absolutely nothing to carry. Does need a lot, like I said, there to come out, but I thought 50-1 seemed a ridiculous price, because if Zanouche had lined up anywhere in the festival, I don't think he's coming over. He would have been probably my nap of the handicaps for the entire meeting. I think that's a really solid horse, so he's put good efforts in behind him. It's an absolute monster price, but, it could just be one of those festivals where a 50-1 manages to crack into the top 5. So hopefully he does manage to get in there and get in at a good price. We'll wrap this first day up then with the National Hunt Challenge Cup in the 520. It's a 3-mile 6, longest race of the entire week. Open to professionals these days. We now do have an Irish favourite with Back Me a Sack Me at the top of the market there for Emmett Mullins, 9-2. A lot of money been coming for him for the last couple of days. Rebecca Curtis won this last year with Haiti Claus. Newton Tornado's there at the top. Wade Out is in there for Murphy and Bowen at 10-1. Big prices about the rest. I like this favourite, Cotty. I like me a bit of Bat Me or Sat Me. Won a handicap at the Dublin Racing Festival that Croke Park was in. Steps up here to 3-mile 6, 9-2. A lot of money coming for it. Any confidence to give me?
No, I don't like it at all. Was second at Cheltenham last time it ran in England over 3-mile 1. Was beat 3 lengths by 3-card Bragg, which is decent enough form. But that was off a mark of 124. Sorry, it's now off a mark of 135. So it's a £11 higher. It's up 5 furlongs in trip from that day. Did win a nice pot in Leopardstown, but again that was over 2-mile 5, so it's up another mile from that. So it came second off a mark of 124 at Cheltenham, like I said, over 3-mile 1, and then dropped back down to 2-mile 5 and 1. Not sure if the 3-mile 6 and then up £11 is exactly what that horse needs. I've landed on another British horse, so that's 7-0 after day 1. We're halfway there to getting our hands on the trophy. I do quite like Wade Out in this for the Ollie Murphy team. Hopefully Sean Bowen gets his winner early on in the day with Amez, but if not, he can get it here on Wade Out. Would probably want to see some nice soft ground, but did win round Worcester over 2-mile 4, beat a horse called Wendigo, who's up there in the market for the Brown Advisory. Then went to Cheltenham and somehow won. And I really do mean that. I'm not too sure how Sean Bowen got that horse up to win that day, but it did. beat some okay horses that day. One Big Bang, leave of absence Declan mentioned earlier for the Ultimate. That horse pulled up that day. This horse just looks, like it could stay and stay and stay. Yeah, Sean Bowen is good in these type of races. Never say die rides. I'd imagine that'll be there come the finish. There is another one further down the list that is also English trained in One Big Bang by James Owen. I backed this horse at Doncaster last time it ran. It was even money. That horse was not there to win. I don't care what anyone says. It's not pocket talk. That horse was not there to win that day. That was off a mark of 140. The handicapper was probably in agreement, only dropped it £1. That's 16-1. I'd say that would have a fair chance. It is probably quite concerning that I have tipped up the majority of English horses throughout day one, because it's never going to be 7-0. But if you don't back your team, then who's going to?
That's a very good point, yeah. I put my tip up there, back me or sat me, so if you just want to close us out, Dec, with your tip for the National Hunt Challenge. Sorry, I say your tip or 5 for the National Hunt Challenge Cup.
Yeah, I've got 2 in this, but I'll give you the shorter price one first. To me, it absolutely screams of a repeat of last year. I like Newton Tornado in this. Rebecca Curtis knows how to train him for this, as we saw last year. Obviously, I don't believe for a second that Newton Tornado is anywhere near the quality of horse that Haiti Colors is. But gets on here in a really nice weight of 11 stone 2. I think number 20 in the weights at the moment. So may need a couple to drop out. I'm not sure how many usually run in this, Bob.
There is normally a few.
I think it's 18 the field.
You'll be all right. Yeah, you'll be all right with that.
I mean, it sits second favourite at 6-1 at the moment. Runs off an official rating of 133. So has a little bit to find in hand with the likes of Wade Out, who obviously has that course form here. I'd imagine Ben Jones gets this leg up, obviously with Sean Bowen booked out. And I don't think the Jukebox Kid is going to come here after what Paulin said about the Irish National and whatnot. So yeah, my fancy in the race will be Newton Tornado. And at a bigger price, I like the Enabler for Gordon Elliott and Gigginstown. Runs off, it's 11 stone 9, rating of 140. Interestingly enough, finished 3rd behind Argento Boy, in the Findlay Ford at Nace. I really like the profile of this one here. Jack Kennedy will get the leg up, considering there's nothing else I think Elliott's got in the race near the top of the market. So yeah, I'll have a little.
Just might be worth noting he's got 5 festival entries and he runs this Sunday at.
In that case, then he won't be the Enabler. He'll probably be the Disabler. So you can put a scratch through that one. But yeah, forget my big price value there. I'll have to stick it all on Newton Tornado then.
Oh no. Okay, well he might run here, but he's got entries in the Ultima, the Plate, the Jack Richards, and the Kim Muir, and he runs this weekend. So,
well, in that case, then if he misses this weekend and he comes here, I think it's a bit of stars aligned moment, and we'll all have to have a little pull bet on him, won't we?
Well, yeah, if he does, if you just back him 5 times, he has at least 25-1 each time you run him. So you might get him in one race, but no, it's unlikely that he's going to come over for the festival if he runs this weekend. So just one there for the top of the market there, Newton Tornado for you. Right, before we wrap up day one, naps from everybody, best bets from everybody. Farley, whilst I've got you on my screen, who was your best bet on day one of the festival?
Quite simple, Old Park Star.
Old Park Star. You're going to
I
double
think
up?
enough's been said about him. Just let him go and do his business. And like Cotty's been trying to do, I'll double him up with every team this weekend. I might even throw Albion in the mix just for a bit of added value. But yeah, Old Park Star.
There's no value backing them.
That is not financial advice. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah, Old Park Star, the nap for me.
Old Park Star. Lulamba for me would be my probably only strong bet that I fancy on day one at 15-8. Should hopefully just be patient in the Arkle and find his way whenever he needs to. Right, folks, that's day one into the books then. So we will be back. You'll find it there on YouTube if I've managed to do that correctly, or if you're on Spotify or Apple Music, just go run up for our tips towards. We will look towards day 2, the champion chase. The market's blown apart for that, of course, from Marine National. Thank you, Dec and Cott, for coming on for this first day. We will be back very shortly then for day 2 of the festival. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you shortly.